Hello and welcome back to the Kid Code Project. I would like to thank you for tuning back in, and this is video 8. I will start this video with one word: wow. The number of comments and questions that I got on video 7, where we dealt with group boxes, check boxes, and radio buttons, was phenomenal. So, what I've decided to do is to make video 8 answer the questions that everyone was asking after seeing video 7. Now, what I've done, I have already gone in to our original controls program we created in video 6, I believe. And we have created it, and I've already changed the form to have it laid out, and this is just to save you time. But I want to point out what I've done. We're still using the same controls from video 7. We're using checkboxes. We have 6 of them. And radio buttons. We have 6 of these as well. We also have 3 group boxes. This is a group box for the ingredients, and this is another group box, and this is another group box. So basically, we've got 6 checkboxes in the group box, 3 radio buttons in a group box, and 3 radio buttons in a different group box. Now, the form, as you can tell, is laid out basically to be like a pizza ordering system. You would log in and order your pizza, and you have a button down here that says place order. Now, what I want to show to you is one of the things that was asked was about enabling things, okay? Now, I want to show you that if a group box is disabled, which means enabled equals false, when the program runs, if you didn't see what I just did, I'm sorry, let me show you. I turned the enabled property on this group box to false. And what's going to happen is when a group box has the enabled property set to false, everything inside of the group box is not enabled as well. So you cannot do anything with it. Okay? Now, with that said, if we set that group box back to being enabled equals true, but one of the items, one of the items, one of the radio buttons, like thick crust, for example, we set that enabled property. I almost forgot what I was doing. Oops, there it is. To false. Press F5 to run it. Since the group box is enabled, everything inside of it is enabled except for the thick crust radio button, which has its own enabled property set to false. So keep that in mind. Remember that. You can control multiple items by having them being disabled. Now, I'm not going to do it in this program. I'm going to set this back to enable true. Now, I'm not going to do it in this program, but it's not uncommon to have a screen like this with multiple group boxes and then have code kind of guide them through the process. For example, they would be forced to choose their ingredients, and when they began choosing, then, for example, the type of crust group box would become enabled. And then when they choose the type of crust, then the size of pizza group box would be enabled. And when they chose a side, then the order button would be enabled. So it kind of guides them through what they're doing. It's not uncommon, and it's really useful. Now, what I want to show to you is I got a lot of questions about, okay, you showed us how they work, but how do you use them? Well, okay, good. In the code, so to speak. What I've did. Man, I hope there aren't English teachers watching this right now. What I've done is I've already created code that does some actions in here. Let's take a look at it. Let's go to the code view. Now, you'll see some of these things you're not familiar with, and I will go into more detail about them later, but I would just want to introduce you to them right now. These 2 lines right here, what these do is these create what are called variables. Okay, variables will be in their own videos later, but right now just understand that what we're saying is the word crust means a string of characters, and right now there's nothing in there. And this means the word pizza size is another string of letters, characters, and there's nothing in it right now. And what we do here is you'll see radio button 4 and 5 and 6. Let's find out where they are. Here's 4, here's 5, and 6. So what happens when someone clicks on this, it creates an event. And if we double click on it right now, what's going to happen, we will go to the most common event for a radio button, which is already created. It's right here. It's called check changed. You know what that means? Check changed is in the radio button. When you click on it, you check it. But if you check on a different radio button in that group, if you remember, the check here will go away. So it looks, the event is check changed. It doesn't say I'm checked. It says that the check has changed. It may be checked now or it may be unchecked. Now, the same thing for radio button 5 and 6. If you look in here, you'll see this bit of code. Okay, now this is going to be introduced to you later as well, but I want to just kind of give you a highlight of it right now. This is a conditional expression, and this is basically the way it works in English. If this is true, then do this. If it's not true, just skip it. Okay? So what this means is when the radio button 4 check changed event fires, we're looking to see if the radio button 4 is checked. If it's checked as true. If it is, we're going to set the string that we're calling crust from up here. We're going to put the text in that string to be thin crust because it's the thin crust radio button. Now what happens if somebody clicks on the thick crust? It's the same event handler, same type of event handler, same event, check change, but it's for radio button 5, same thing. If the radio button is checked, meaning true, then we're going to change the text in the crust variable to thick crust. If it's not, we're just going to skip it. And of course, if they click on the hand toss, the check changed event's fired. If it's checked as true, which meaning that radio button's checked, then the text in the crust variable will be set to hand tossed crust. Now, we did the exact same thing with these three, but this is pizza size, right? So let's double click on small. This is radio button 9. Here's the check changed event. If radio button 9 is checked, meaning true, then pizza size text, string of the text will become small size. If you remember up here, this is a string and it's empty, but here we're putting text into that string. Excuse me. Same thing on medium. If it is checked, we're going to set that text in that string to medium size. And if we double click on large, we are going to be putting the check true event is going to be putting large size into the pizza size string variable. Now if that makes sense. And what we have is when somebody double clicks or clicks on the OK button, the click event, we're going to be creating a message box that will have the text that says thank you for your order of the, and whatever text is in pizza size will be put in there, because remember the ampersand takes them and puts them together. And then we will also put pizza with a, this ampersand is now going to take these two and add this to it, and this is going to be putting the crust string contents, what the letters are in that string, to the end of it again, and at the very end of the sentence we are adding a period because that's how sentences end. Now if that makes sense or not, we'll see if it works. Okay, I'm going to press F5 to run the debugger, and here it is, our pizza ordering form. Build your pizza. Okay, I would like a bacon, pepperoni, beef, and pepper, but I kind of like olives too. I don't, okay. I like thin crust, and I want a big one. Okay, so now when I click the button, what do you think is going to happen? Because if you remember, the check changed event has already fired here, so we have already put the string of thin crust into that string's variable. And when I click large, we put large, the text for the word large, into that string's variable as well. So when I click the place order, it will put a message box with the entire message there. There we go. Thank you for your order of the large size pizza with a thin crust. Here it is, thin crust, large size pizza. How about thick crust? Thank you for your order of the large size pizza with a thick crust. Okay. Changed it to hand tossed. Thank you for your order of the large size pizza with a hand tossed crust. If we change it to small, thank thank you for your order of the small pizza with a hand-tossed crust. Okay? And that's how it works. It's that straightforward and it's that easy. The exact same thing is true for the checkboxes. In fact, let's do that. Let's build that from scratch. Let's make a check changed event for the bacon. Okay? Now, what it is that is checkbox 1, because when we click on it, we see it's checkbox 1. And going back to the event handler for the checkbox's most common event, which is check change, just like the radio button, we're going to put wow, my typing is terrible. You just check the bacon. Chevuk. Sounds like something in Russian. Chevuk. Checkbox. Okay. So, I'm going to press F5 to start it in debug mode again. Now, if I click pepperoni, nothing happens because we didn't create the event handler for that check event. That one either, or that one, or that one, or that one. But we did create the event handler for the the checkbox for bacon check changed. So when I click it, the event happens and we get our message box. There it is. You just checked the bacon checkbox. Okay, very cool. That is how it works. I hope that answers everyone's questions. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that out, and I am going to leave the code here so you can see it all. Okay, and if you would like, well, first of all, I'll do this. I'll leave this screen up for a moment, and you can pause the video, and you can lay it out this way if you want. Let me do this. I'm going to pull this over so you can see the name. That's checkbox 1, checkbox 2, okay, checkbox 5, checkbox 3, checkbox 6, checkbox 4, okay. So you can lay it out the same way. Now this is radio button 4, radio button 5, radio button 6. Now if you need to, you can pause the video as you're laying it out to make certain you get the names the same, because you can copy the code using the exact same names and get the exact same results, right? Size, okay, so this is radio button 9, radio button 8, radio button 7, and this is the OK button that we created in the previous video. Now, I will let you see the code from top to bottom. I'm going to pause here for a little bit, so if you want, you can actually pause the video and enter the code. Now remember, you don't have to type in all this stuff up here. For these event handlers, just go to this screen, and for the event handler here, you just double click it and it will take you straight to it and create it for you. All you have to put in is the code in between, okay? Which is why it's important that you basically name them the same way I did. So if you didn't, rewind the video a little bit, lay them out the way I have them laid out here, and making certain that they're named the same way, okay? And then all you have to do is go in here to double click it, for example, here. It will automatically create the event handle for you, and you just type in this little bit of code right here, and that will handle the event for the radio button 4, right, which is here. So I'm going to just move this up here, and I'm going to pause it here so you can pause the video and enter the text when you're ready. Okay, I'm going to scroll down now so you can see the rest of the code, and you can enter this text into your check changed events, and then you can run the code yourself. Go ahead and pause it if you need to. Okay, cool. Well, that basically concludes this video. I hope I answered everybody's questions clearly. Now, I do know we introduced a few things that are not, that are new to you, the variables, but I don't want you to worry about it, because we're going to go into variables really in depth in several videos coming up where we get to do some really cool stuff. We also got to use the ampersand, and you got to see how we could take multiple strings. Remember, strings are nothing more than a bunch of letters, characters, text strung together. You could take multiple strings and add them and make one really big string. It's very useful and it's very common. We also learned how to create the check changed events for checkboxes and for radio buttons and what we can do with them. We were introduced to the if then statement. If then, meaning if this is true, then do this, right? And we'll introduce you to more conditional statements in upcoming videos, because really conditional statements is what is the logic, the brains behind programming code. But we'll get into more of that later. And we are done for now. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you like what you see, please click the like button below. That really does give me a hand. If you don't subscribe and would like to, click on that. I want to thank you for it. Your subscriptions always help out. If there's anything you need help with or have questions, post it in the comments below. And until the very next time, see you later.